Blacks have a much
blacks. The blacks. That's even hard for me as a black woman to say. So to hear it so casually and smoothly come out of the mouth of a nominee for the Secretary of Health and Human Services of the United States is appalling. Not once, but twice in that same video. Wanting to be in that position but not understanding race as a social construct is perplexing. Race is a social construct. It's a social classification. It's not rooted in any biological data, nor is it a genetic category. So using terms like blacks implies that all African Americans or people of color share the same biological traits, which is inaccurate. It's not even scientific. Furthermore, genetic diversity within populations of African descent is greater than that of any population on this planet, which means that there is no single black biology. Now I'm going to get into the science of what he was really trying to explain, but for those that are still confused, because there are a lot of people that were confused in the comments on why his syntax was very harmful and controversial, it's because terms like the blacks set the stage for medical mistreatment of black bodies. It's terms like blacks and need less of a specific medicine that led to physicians and researchers and other people in medical spaces to believe that black people had a higher pain tolerance because they had thicker skin, and that black people did not need pain medications because to manage pain. It's terms like blacks and that radical thinking process that led to the Tuskegee experiment, that led to the Negro medicine era in the 19th and 20th century. Using racial terms in a generalized way, specifically in a scientific field, oversimplifies genetic complexities. There's a difference between race-based medicine and ancestry-based medicine. And what we want to focus on when we're talking about vaccines is ancestry-based medicine, because it's more rooted in understanding genetic complexity, genetic mutations, population genetics, and genetic heritage. For instance, I'm black, my sisters are black. We may all have different SNPs in our interleukin-4 receptor gene. I may have a mutation that puts me at a higher risk for having an adverse reaction to a vaccine, whereas my sister may not have that same mutation and she may not have that same adverse reaction. But we're both black. This is why race-based medicine is so harmful, because it basically says just because I have black skin, I'm going to respond the same exact way as every person that has black skin. Furthermore, this is why vaccines need to be bio-individual. Vaccines should not be based on skin tone. They should not be based on a protocol. They should not be based on a schedule. It should not be based on how well one sibling responded to a vaccine. Because everyone has a different immune system. Everyone has different single nucleotide polymorphisms. Everybody is going to mount a different response. America has a very cookie cutter approach when it comes to how we deliver vaccines and how we treat everyone as the same, which is very harmful. So what I think RFK is trying to explain is the HLA system.
That show that the particular antigens that blacks have a much stronger reaction. There's differences in reaction to different products by different races.
So the HLA system, the human leukocyte antigen system, is a group of genes located on chromosome 6, and they play a critical role in the immune system. They help the body determine self from non-self, and they determine how the body is going to respond to vaccines and medicines and viruses. And they are very polymorphic. HLA genes are very polymorphic. The HLA system helps to regulate the immune system. It plays a role in autoimmune diseases. It affects organ transplant compatibility. And most importantly, it determines how individuals will respond to vaccines and medications. This system helps present antigens to the immune system so the body can figure out how to fight off an infection.
Blacks need fewer antigens than...
This is so dangerous.
You get the same measles vaccine.
Blacks need fewer antigens. Blacks need fewer antigens. Black people don't feel pain. Again, same radicalized, generalized thinking. Antigens are foreign substances, foreign particles, viruses, bacteria, or parts of them that trigger a response in the immune system. The immune system then recognizes these antigens and mounts a defense, thereby producing antibodies to be able to fight off the infection. This is how vaccines work. Vaccines are supposed to work by containing a harmful, less harmful, or weakened part of this antigen, a fragment of the bacteria or a virus. And when you get vaccinated, it promotes an immune response to this antigen by developing antibodies with the hope that if you do come in contact with this virus in the future, you'll have the antibodies to fight it off. There is research that show that African Americans, certain groups of African Americans, they do have different immune responses to certain vaccines, and they do have higher antibodies after certain vaccines like the H1N1. But here's the problem with research. A lot of older research lacks genetic diversity. There's a lot of research that is also rooted in racism and that also contains a lot of racial construct. This article right here that reviews how African Americans respond to the H1N1 strain compared to Caucasians. This is a group of African Americans in a younger population and an older population. The younger population, age 20 to 30, there were only 17 African Americans compared to 95 Caucasians. In the older group, 65 plus, there were only 10 African Americans compared to 150 Caucasians. The diversity is always so low in these studies that it's not enough to really gather any relevant data. And while this article did show that younger African Americans had a more robust immune response to the vaccine, the flu vaccine, and that they had more antibodies compared to their white counterparts, this data still cannot be generalized for all Black people. This article even touched on the MMR vaccine in African American children and showing that they had a higher antibody response after the vaccination. But it's so interesting because we get into this mode of, well, Black people this and Black people that, when Black people are not all inherently the same. And so again, this is why race-based medicine is so dangerous. I review different genetic panels every single day. I even get to review developmental panels in young children to see if they would be at a higher risk for developing or having an adverse response to a vaccine. And a lot of these children, many of them Black, little Black children, they have SNPs in different genes that put them at a higher risk for having an adverse reaction to a vaccine. These are genes that control the immune system from becoming overactive. These are the things that we don't see when we take our children in to go get a vaccine. Doctors, physicians are not lettered in genetic diversity, let alone how different vaccines act on different genes or how different people have different mutations in different genes that control the immune system. So what we need to be focusing on rather than race is the bioindividuality and the tailored protocol of vaccines and not a schedule.